Ever fail at something? How about a lot of somethings? Yeah, me too. However, failure is a big part of success. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can fail forward and turn every failure into a success. Hi, I'm Jess of JessDickerson.com, and I'm a life coach helping you go from stress to success by giving you the tools to be more confident, more motivated, and less stressed. If you want to make sure you don't miss an episode, go down and hit the subscribe button below. By the end of this video, you're going to know 4 ways that you can recover from your failures so that you can learn the lesson that's in them, which will then help you move on your way to success. Now, if you decided to watch this, you might be in the midst of a failure, trying to deal with the frustration, the anger, and sometimes shame that can even come from failing. But I'd like you to stop for a minute and think about a place where you've had genuine success. It could be anything: home, work, family, whatever. Then I want you to think about all of the failures that came before that success. I'm not trying to bring you down. I just want you to remember that everyone fails their way to success. Babe Ruth, king of baseball, right? 714 home runs. Amazing. He also happened to have 1,330 strikeouts. That is almost twice as many strikeouts as it is home runs. Do you think if he let that average bother him that he would have become a baseball legend? You don't have to look at something huge like that to see a pattern though. The thing that I look at is super simple. Cake baking. I have had some pretty spectacular failures, and I'm happy to report that most of them happened before posting pictures on the internet was a thing. I can't count the number of cakes that I screwed up, something wrong with the ingredients, or they just would not come out of the pan. And I got so frustrated that I gave up baking cakes for nearly a decade. But eventually I came back around to it and I tried many more times, and I finally got the hang of it. Now I've gotten to the point where I do them all the time. I carve them, I do special decorations and everything. The point is, I failed my way to success. But I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. Those moments right after a failure are rough. Here you are, you have all of these emotions around what's going on, and you're supposed to just pick yourself up and try again. Well, not exactly. What I want you to do is come at this failure with a growth mindset. You are not your failures. You did not fail at this because of who you are. And you can learn and you can grow, and that can help you eventually succeed. And if you come at this with a growth mindset, you'll be able to use the tips that I'm about to give you, and you will spring back from this failure a lot faster. And in that vein, the first way to fail forward is to redefine failure. When we get overwhelmed and we've got too much going on, or we're dealing with heavy emotions like frustration and anger, our brain tries to resort to the most simple situation possible. And that results in either or thinking or black and white thinking. I just talked about this in my last video, so I'll link that up in the cards. But basically, you get stuck into this mindset where something is either a complete success or a complete failure. There is no in between. So this practice is a little bit more effective if you can use it before you go into the situation, but you can still use it afterwards. For example, imagine you're going to meet a potential client. The either or stress thinking would have you say that this will only be a success if this client signs with you. They sign with you, success. They don't sign with you, failure. So take a moment and consider what some other possibilities for this situation to be positive actually are. Perhaps they are not interested at this time, but they know someone who is. Maybe they're not ready for your services right this second, but as soon as they are, they will let you know. Maybe they happen to know someone that you have been desperately trying to meet, and now they're going to give you an introduction. There are a lot of ways for this particular meeting to work out that are not only either they sign or they don't. If you've already had what you see as a failure, go back and look at it. Did you learn something valuable that you can apply to the next time that you have a meeting? Did you get some valuable real-world practice? For example, Maybe the speech didn't go as great as you wanted it to, but you got time on your feet and you learned how to beat your nerves. Did you maybe make some new contacts that might help you out in the future? All of these could contribute to future successes in ways you can't even see yet. The next way to fail forward is to stop focusing on failure. I know this sounds ridiculous, but bear with me for a second. We as humans have sort of this polar two ways that we work. Either we are seeking out something because we want it, or we're running away from something that we don't want. For example, let's say there's two people and they both want to get in shape and be healthy. One of them is terrified that they're going to have a heart attack, and so they are running away from potential health problems. Then you have another person who really just wants to do a certain physical activity, maybe running around with their kids, and so they are working out so that they are able to do that activity. They are seeking out the ability to do that activity. Now, both of these are excellent reasons to get in shape. After all, nobody really wants to have a heart attack. However, seeking to avoid, especially if you're intensely focused on it, can have an immensely draining effect on you mentally. Now, this may not seem like a big deal since we're kind of talking about physical fitness here, but if you translate this into the work environment, it becomes a big deal. If you're focused on, say, not getting fired, then you are draining your mental power, and it's going to stop you from being as sharp as you want to be and from being as creative as you could be, which will prevent you from coming up with good solutions to your problems. And then you may not get fired, but you're probably not going to get promoted either, because now you're not performing at your peak. So the next time you're worried about failing, flip it around and think about what you do want instead. This will actually help you come up with new ideas, which is much more likely to make your situation successful. And these are ideas that you might not have come up with if you had only been focused on not failing. The third way to fail forward is to not give up. If you're in the middle of dealing with a failure, you know the easiest thing that you could possibly do right now is give up. Throw in the towel, call it quits, and pretend like the whole thing never happened. I've certainly done this. I mean, look at me. I gave up cake baking for 10 years. And look where it got me. Exactly nowhere. Nothing improved in those 10 years. I didn't get any new skills. I didn't learn any new techniques. I just avoided it altogether. Imagine how much better I would be now if I hadn't completely given up for a decade. Now, cake baking in the grand scheme of things, I get, not that big of a deal. But what are you ready to give up on in this moment because of this past failure? And what is going to happen if you give up on that thing now? What is the cost of taking an extended break from whatever it is you're working on that you may never come back to? Before you totally give up, take a moment to consider what would happen with a loss of momentum and possibly a backsliding in your skills because you took a big break. Think about all of the effort that it's going to take you to regain all that you're going to lose just from taking time off. That alone might give you the motivation that you need to get back in the game. The last part of failing forward is to practice self-compassion, and there are 4 ways to do this. The first one is mindfulness. When you failed, there's a whole swirl of negative emotions going on. And one of the ways to deal with this is really think about what you're feeling and label your emotions. I'm frustrated, I'm angry, I'm resentful, and so on. Be as specific with your wording as possible. This helps give you mental distance from your emotions so you can start breaking them down and dealing with them instead of just swimming around in them in your head all the time. This will help you process them and get through them quicker. The next is to remember that you're not alone. I don't care what you're working on, what industry you're in, all of the people that are at the top have failed, whether they are willing to admit it or not. Some of them might have even been spectacular failures. Stephen King had his book Carrie rejected 30 times. The first time PayPal came out, it was voted one of the 10 worst business ideas. Walt Disney's first company went bankrupt, and it was 5 more years before he came up with Mickey Mouse and started to have some success. When you are feeling alone in your struggle, Google famous failures, and I promise you that it will make you feel in good company. Part of self-compassion is treating yourself kindly. If a friend or family member was going through what you were going through right now, how would you talk to them? Imagine the things that you would say to them. Are they the sort of things that you're saying to yourself? Are you talking to yourself in a way you would never speak to another person? If so, it's time to switch that around and start talking to yourself the way that you would talk to someone that you loved. And the last thing is to take ownership. Taking ownership means owning the parts of the failure that belong to you. We've got two types of people here. Some people blame themselves for the entire failure, even if they only had a tiny part of it. This is soul crushing, and it blinds you to the ways that you can improve the situation so that you have success next time. Others tend to absolve themselves from any blame, and that blinds them to the ways that they could grow so that they are successful next time. So take a moment, think through things. Think about the parts that you actually had control over and what didn't go well. And beating a dead horse over here, but what can you learn? And that's it. 4 ways you can use to fail your way to success. I'd love to hear down in the comments which one you think is going to help you the most. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go down and hit the like button. And if you want more videos just like this, hit the subscribe button as well. If you're interested in more information on this topic, go ahead down to the show notes and I'll have some links to other articles that I wrote. I'll also have a link down there for my newsletter so that you can sign up and get more information, tips, and tricks sent straight to your inbox. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I'll have a link so you can schedule your free call with me. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.